So, hi. Hi, everyone. So we're going to give you just a few seconds to get settled, find your seats. I'm glad that you're sitting in the front row. And we're going to spend about an hour talking about how to make these gnomes. So as you know, this is Kim. Kim is not a gnome, and my name is Kyle. I'm also not a gnome, but we do have some gnomes to show. You can use your words. Kim's afraid to talk.
Gnomes. So we have lots of samples scattered about, you'll see here, in addition to the ones that we'll be making.
Yes. So the best part about this, what I didn't realize is I'm old and now I can't read the chat. I wonder if I can read it without, nope, that doesn't help either. So we have to do this to see what's going on, which is fine, right? Because we're all friends here. There will be question and answer. Like I said, it's a little hard for us to see. So we're gonna sort of, apparently I'm just gonna blab the whole time and Kim's just gonna sit.
Oh no, I'm ready. I'm ready to make gnomes.
She's like, let's get this done. We have 37 gnomes to get made. We have orders, people. So the first thing we have to do is talk about the stuff, the components that you need to make a gnome. So there are two different gnomes, and you're going to make the little gnome.
I'm going to make a smaller gnome.
And I'm going to make a bigger gnome. So there's two different sizes. This is the template thing that you're going to get, and there'll be a PDF for that. So that's a regular printer size piece of paper, and you'll get a little template. You're going to cut that out, and you can, if you have packing tape, you can just, like the clear packing tape, you can clear over it, or duct tape, you can do that on
just cardstock or
cardstock
heavier paper.
Also, yes, if you have that, or a laminator, if you have a laminator, and do that. So that, and then you'll cut it out and it'll be a stiffer thingy like this. And if you want to make the larger one, it's two pieces of paper. So the template will be one where you have to tape them together to cut it out. Same deal, just a larger piece of cardstock. And it doesn't have to be, if it has a fold in it or something, it would work just fine. You're going to use this to cut the thing to make your hat, right? So that is that. We don't need these anymore because now you know everything there is to know about the paper. But we do need our templates. What else do we need? So the template goes, we have to cut something out, and the thing that we're going to cut out, where did they go, Kim? Oh, you have them.
Yes.
Are sweaters. So go find, go to your friend's house or someone that you don't like and find their really nice sweaters, and then throw them in the washing machine and felt them.
Or you can go to the thrift store.
Or you can go to the thrift store. Or if you may have accidentally washed something that felted, you know, where it shrank away, you just wash them and they shrink to nothing. So this would have been, you know, an adult size, and it is now a smaller than adult size. It would still probably fit someone, but the sleeves are pretty stiff. And this would have been a larger one as well. So when you're looking at the label, look for things. If it says superwash, those of you who, you know, knit and crochet and do stuff with yarn, superwash is a process that takes the scales off of the yarn so that it doesn't sort of interact with itself and it gets all tangled up, and that's what causes the felting. Superwash is something you don't want in this process. In this case, you want 100% wool, perfect. And if it's bright or fun, that's also great. If there's a hole in it, don't worry about it because you're going to cut these things out. What you're looking for are sleeves that are intact because you're going to use the sleeves
as their bodies.
As the bodies. And then you're looking for larger sections of material to cut your hats out of, right? So you want to use more than one, perhaps more than one sweater. If you don't have the felted sweater pieces, you could use pieces of very heavy felt, that kind of thing. You can actually also, if you were part of our newsletter, we don't need these anymore because I'm not using that one. Are you?
No. Are you using this one?
No. That's apparently the recycle bin. This is an upcycle project. You can also use art felt. So art felt is a process we talked about in our newsletter briefly today, and there's a download in the newsletter that explains in detail what that is. You could make a sheet of felted material and cut it, make a really awesome hat for your gnome. If your gnome was a summertime gnome, because not every gnome is a winter time gnome that needs to be, in the sweater weather.
Right.
Sweater weather.
Yes. Yes.
Sometimes your gnomes are going to be summertime gnomes. So go find all those dress shirts that you don't like anymore, and you can chop off the sleeves. The sleeves are going to become, as Kim mentioned, the body.
The body.
Right.
Yes.
And then you can use the flat, larger pieces of material for the hats and things, but they'll be a little more flippy floppy. So if you wanted them to be more sturdy, but still have that sort of summer material, I like that you folded it, and I'm just like, I'm throwing it back there. We're very different. You can use some kind of spray adhesive and glue that that shirt material to a piece of felt, cut it out, and that kind of thing. So that's the hat.
That is the hat. Yes.
Or do you want to talk about the next part, or should
I think we just get started.
We are started.
Well, I mean, just
okay,
like
yes,
actually
okay.
glue gun.
Oh, glue guns and stuff.
We're
Okay,
glue
so
gun.
we plugged our glue guns in.
Yes, yes.
And
so,
where's my sleeve? Oh, so I have my pieces over here. I need to chop my sleeve off. So you go ahead.
Cut your sleeve.
Yeah.
So yes. And so basically, so as we said, we use the sleeves as bodies. And so we're just gonna, in some way, this is gonna become our body. So at some point, you're gonna make a decision if you want a nice tall body or if you want a short stout body. And a lot of that you can control too later when we fill them. So I'm just gonna start with my sleeve, which is just, don't worry too much about the cutting it, just as long as you got enough of a tube to make a body. So I'm just gonna gather the larger end, because in the later on, this will be the bottom of my gnome. So I'm gonna, the wider end I want at the bottom. So I'm gonna start with that.
And it starts inside out.
Inside out. So your sleeve is inside out. And so I'm just gonna gather that end. And this is no sew. So we're gonna be using a lot of hot glue. So our way is we're just going to band it. So take a nice heavy duty rubber band.
A little bit of hot glue gun safety. There are two things. One, make sure that you don't just go to unplug it if you're going to leave. Of course, you want to have it on a tray of some kind. And if you have little ones about, that kind of thing, or you, I guess, too, because your fingers can burn, a little bowl of water works really well. So if you accidentally get your finger stuck in that glue, you plunge it in the water, or if you have a beverage, you can put it in your iced tea. It's fine. It will help to stop the burn fairly quickly, and will minimize that.
And there's a good chance, especially in the beginning, that you'll get yourself a couple times. So we rubber banded the bottom. We jammed some hot glue in there. And then if you want, we're going to be filling it anyway, but you can trim off excess if you want. It's really not necessary. You'll see as we move along here, this whole process is very forgiving. None of it's super particular. So my hot glue is no longer hot. So I'm going to turn mine right side in. And then that is going to be the little bottom of my gnome.
Hey, mine could have a mustache.
Oh, you could just
you can save your little pieces. You never know if you might want to use it for embellishment or that kind of thing.
Yes.
I'm hanging out a second for my glue to dry.
And so just right side in, that's the bottom of my gnome. And clearly my gnome's going to be a little more on the thinner side. As you can see, we've got some nice big wide ones. We've got more round ones. We've got more narrow ones. Kyle has some great samples over there of taller guys, more squat guys. Yeah. But that's, like I said, also you might not know until you start making them.
They sort of become their own character.
Yeah.
So here's a squatty one that had a really large sleeve as the body, as the base. Who else? Well, it's another sort of low and squat. Low and squat.
And then you'll notice too, that part of the reason they're a little bit more squat is perhaps it was a wider sleeve, a bigger sleeve piece. And this potentially was, maybe it was even a child sweater. So it's a lot more narrow. So next step is we want to fill our little guys' bodies. And so just a plastic bag, we're going to be filling with rice. Therefore, it'd be nice to have a bag without holes in it, but it doesn't have to be super. I mean, you could use a zip top bag or something, but just a basic, any kind of little plastic bag. And so I just kind of shove it in there enough that I don't lose the top, and I can just start filling with rice. So I'm just going to start filling them. And at this point is when you kind of decide how full you want them. So I just start filling them.
So alternatives to rice, like what other things you could use? The point is to weight the little gnome, right? So you can use sand, aquarium rocks, anything that is a very dry thing that's got a little bit of weight to it. You could use like old washers if you have a whole bunch of those laying around, I suppose. But the point is to get some weight into the piece. And then if you needed it to have more body or filled out more, you could use just fluff or perhaps, you know, scraps from previous little gnomes that you made to sort of fill up that body.
I like to use rice because in an emergency situation, you can always just open up your gnome and eat the rice.
No.
And as you can see, he's just starting to fill up. And the plastic bag I used to line it, it's bigger than the sleeve. So it has room to expand if you want. If you use too narrow of a plastic bag, then obviously you can only stuff it so much.
And this also uses a lot of rice. So we bought a giant bag. We put it in these bowls to make it a little easier to wrangle, but
it's deceiving. Like you'll feel like you have plenty of rice and you start filling them and you're like, oh, wow, I could still use more rice.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit deceiving. So I'm just still filling until I kind of like the shape of them. And I also want to keep in mind the size of my,
there are a couple really awesome things. Hello, everyone. Gnomes are people too. That is very true. And hello to everyone. The best couple of comments here. One person said, what about using a sock? So there you go.
Yes.
Absolutely. You could use that. And dry beans would work really well as well. I totally agree with you. Anything that has weight, you know, old holiday candy, like old Christmas candy that's like from.
I don't recommend that.
Don't use that.
Not
avoid stuff that has
candy.
Avoid stuff that has sugar.
Right. Or attracts.
Okay.
And so we're doing two different sizes, as we talked about before. We have two different size templates. So our bodies aren't going to be the same, but I just kind of keep bringing my template up to kind of make sure that my hat's going to be still a little bit proportionate to the body. Everything is adjustable. So none of this are you locked in for the rest of your life.
Another person suggested poly pellets. Those would work really well for filling it out. I'm not sure that there's tons of weight in them.
Yeah, you might just want to put something at the bottom.
Yeah, but
they're going to be top heavy.
Yeah, they do sort of, you want them to have a little bit of substance to them. And I really want mine to have more substance to it. Keep eating, little gnome.
Yeah, and this is the part that we can't really teach. It's more of, you're just going to know when he's done. Or her, whatever kind of mummy you're going to make. And so I'm starting to really get to where I like mine. So I'm going to start moving forward. So my plastic bag, all I'm going to do is give it a twist. And we have an assortment of different rubber bands. So rubber bands and hot glue are kind of our go-tos for this. So I'm just going to rubber band the top of that plastic bag. So he's going to be pretty snug. So the rice isn't going to try and get out, but no reason not to. So I'm just going to rubber band the top of that. And then I have my body.
Oh, I need a little rubber band.
There's several there. And also these are handy. They're just little, what do you call these?
Tongue depressors.
Tongue depressors. And I use these a lot when I'm working with hot glue, because if you are like me and you burn yourself again and again, you can easily just hot glue on the stick and smear it wherever you want. Yeah. And I use that a bit more when we get to the embellishing our gnomes. So I'm just shaping him how I want. And this is now my body. So I'm gonna another rubber band. I'll do a big hardy rubber band in the top.
So Ida said we started with our sleeve inside out, and we rubber band with a large rubber band on that part of the sleeve, the big part here. So the sleeve is inside out at that point. Then we hot glued the middle there to sort of seal it all in. Once the glue is set, then we turn it right side out, right? So that the outside of the sleeve, the nice outside, is what is showing on the outside of the thing. Then you put the plastic bag in, then you fill it with whatever it is that you want to fill with, as long as it's a nice dry thing. And
so I'm very happy with the size and shape of my body.
Me too.
Me too. And so as you continue to fill, so there's a couple more steps for sure. One of our next step is going to be filling in our beard, which we're going to have lots of options for the beard. Another step is going to be making our nose. I like to jump to next cutting out my hats, because once I've got my hats, I can keep setting it on my gnome to see how it's going to sit. And then from there, I can fill in beard, figure out about where my nose is going to be. So me personally, I go with next cut out my hat and just see how proportionate that is to my body. All right, and of course you can just eyeball it. You'll have a template. You can pin it to your piece if you want. I'm just going to draw on the wrong side. I'm just going to trace mine out and cut it out. Some of you guys are really handy with the scissors, so you'll be able to just kind of cut it out easy peasy.
And you can look at, whatever piece that you have and try to figure out how to place the hat shape on your felted piece. If the felted material that you have has some kind of a pattern, like a stripe or something, keep that in mind when you're placing this template, so that those stripes either run, horizontal or vertically, or if you want them to run at an angle, so that you're not surprised a little bit later.
After you cut it.
After you cut it. So once you've got this cut, of course, these two sides, this side and this side, are going to become friends, and that you're going to glue that together. That's what makes that cone shape.
And another little tip is when you are at the thrift store or something, hunting down sweaters and stuff, it's really fun to also, if you find one with cables and or any, so I've found some that have applique stuff on it. Those are really fun too, because then that just all gets incorporated into your hat with much less effort.
I know you said applique, but I heard apple cake.
Apple cake.
And now I'm hungry.
I wish my sweater came with apple cake.
Yeah.
Okay, and so I've just cut mine out, and I'm just going to kind of hold it up to see about where it's going to be on my gnome. And as you see, I haven't trimmed this down yet, just because you don't necessarily, I'm not going to need to trim it all down. And I kind of like to leave it till the end, because it can help with stability for your, especially if you have a slouchy hat, it can, if you leave it in there, that'll kind of fill that in and help it be a little bit more sturdy. And so I am really liking the proportions of my body and my hat. And I haven't attached anything yet, but I'm just kind of eyeballing it to make sure I'm on the right track. And I am going to trim this down just a little bit. I don't need that much excess on there. All righty.
This is a very easy project. It's great for kids and family. It's really good to do as a party. Everyone sort of gets an assignment of bring a sweater or two, bring, sleeves, that kind of thing. Someone bring the uncooked rice or the beans or the whatever. People bring, bring your button jar and all the random stuff, and someone bring rubber bands, and everyone can pile it all in, someone's room, and you can have a little bit of a gnome making party. And
it's a lot of fun. I've hosted several of them, and everyone shows up with stuff, things that I wouldn't even think of incorporating onto a gnome. So people come with I've had someone who brought all these antique brooches they found at a thrift store. And so you'll see there's a million different ways to embellish your gnome. All righty. So how's your hat feel attached to your body?
I haven't looked.
Oh, right.
That was the gentle reminder of, don't forget to check to see what your hat looks like on the body. So there's my little hat on my body. It's good. It's a very tall hat.
It's great. It's really cute.
He's gonna be cute.
He is really cute. And these templates are just templates we came up with. So you might modify it. You might have the perfect, I like the shape better or something, but this is just kind of a jumping off point for you guys to get going. So I am liking that. I feel like I don't need to make any changes to my hat. I don't need to fill him or empty him. He's looking great. So at this point, there's a lot of different ways to do your hat. So obviously you want this to be seamed up to make your cone for your hat. You can hot glue it, which is generally what I do. I just hot glue down the side. You can cover that seam if you want. If you're worried about the seam, you can cover it with a strip of ribbon. Also, you could do a row of little buttons down the back or something. So there's all different ways to cover that seam if that seam's going to bother you. My seam's going to be at the back of my hat, so I'm not super worried about it. So I am just going to hot glue mine together.
You don't put glue on one side and then fold the hat over and seal it, like that. If you do that, when the hat opens up, you'll end up with a bit of a seam, that sticks out on the back. So
It'll make
you
it
want
kind of
them
bulky.
you want them to kind of overlap themselves. So I'm going to move pretty quickly. I know you probably can't see a whole lot here. If you're on a computer and the closed captioning is blocking the table, you can move that around by just like dragging it to a different place, and that works just for your window. But here's mine. I'm just going to go for it by hot gluing my one side of my hat by running a bead-ish. And then I'm going to fold it using my tongue depressor, big popsicle stick.
Popsicle stick.
Popsicles.
Apple cake.
Apple cake and
popsicles.
popsicles now, so far. And I'm just trying to make it behave. And if I want to sort of push on this, I'm using this as my pretend finger so that I don't burn myself. Let's see what's going on in here. Rice is environmentally friendly. It is. That is a great thing. So are the rocks and all of that. What else? We said that. A wide spout funnel. That is a great idea. If you're wanting to sort of get that, get the rice or whatever material to the inside of your gnome body, you could use a wide mouth funnel. That would work really well. So I'm sort of just hanging out a second, waiting for this to dry.
So I did mine a completely different way than Kyle. So I just had my ends meet. And so because my wool is a bit thicker than his also, it's a lot more stable and sturdy. And so I just glued it right along that seam there and just had the edges meet. And it's a little gunky because I got hot glue everywhere. So I will later embellish that. I'll put a ribbon or I'll put buttons down it or something to kind of hide my funky glue.
Funky glue.
And I'm still very happy with the proportions of the hat to the body.
So when I put my hat on my body now, I think it's still pretty good, but if I wanted to, I could cut it shorter or, if I wanted to make it a shorter hat. But before you cut, you can always cut something, but it's more difficult to add material back to it. So if I wanted to sort of test a shorter hat, I might sort of fold it in and then stick him on there and say, oh, do I like that better or not so much? Or,
And the other thing to keep in mind is he's going to have a great big nose and, or you might want a small nose, but he'll have a nose of some sort. And he's got all that fluff from his beard and he might have hair in the back, whatever direction you plan to go. So that's all going to help support the hat.
The hat.
So now that we're feeling somewhat good about our hats, and obviously in all of this process, you can change your mind, you can change the whole thing, you can switch everything up. But the next thing we're going to move on to is the nose.
It's pantyhose.
Pantyhose. So those of you who
so these are technically knee highs, not pantyhose, but pantyhose would work as well. You can buy them, of course, I'm sure at dollar store, that kind of place.
Not as common as they used to be, but they're still out there.
Yeah, but we're looking for something that's kind of sheer. That's the whole point.
Yes. So you're just going to cut a little section. You really don't need much because we're really going to stretch it to make a nice sturdy nose. So I just cut a little square out of your knee high or pantyhose, or you could probably use a thin trouser sock, just about anything. And the beauty of this is you get to just play with the nose until it's the size, the shape. And I just took some fluff. I'm just kind of going to start with a little bit of a ball. And then you'll see as you stick your ball of fluff around that square, you're just going to stretch and pull and mold and add some, take some away. You can line yourself up with one of your tiny rubber bands or a little rubber band, because that's how we'll eventually seal it. And that's all it is we're just wrapping that pantyhose or knee high around our little fluff ball.
If you don't happen to have the polyfill fluff, if you have an old pillow in your house, you could always just take a little bit out of there. This also could be, if you do knit or you have a little bowl of yarn scraps, maybe that's what's in here. But you do want it to be kind of soft because this is kind of that boop, boop, people boop noses.
Little boop
It's something
nose.
that people do. So we kind of want that nose to be light and boopable.
Yes.
Apparently.
And I'm thrilled. Sometimes it'll take you a minute. Like I've made some gnomes where I'm massaging the nose forever, just making it what, you know, just a shape I like. This one just kind of came together. I love this nose. I think it's adorable. And oh my goodness. And so another little tidbit I'm just going to say is when you pull yours together at the end, see, I've just got the little rubber band at the top. Make sure you give yourself a good amount of that excess because that's how we're going to anchor it to his body. And so you want to have some of that excess. So don't trim it off. But like I said, give yourself plenty. And then moving on, we'll let Kyle continue working on his nose. So all I do, if you can see here, is that rubber band we put around the top of our bodies. I just pull some out and I'm just going to slip that little end I told you about, the excess under that rubber band. And then it'll stay put. Later on, after you do the beard or whatever you decide to do for that embellishment, you can tack him down with your hot glue. I just don't want to do it yet because I don't know exactly how much beard I'm going to use. And so for now, he's just going to float there on there, which
There's
I
my little nose.
love. And I use black pantyhose. Yeah, I'm just loving. So you can see, so he's not tacked down, but you can see a gnome coming together, right? He's starting to. And so that's his little nose there. And like I said, I later on, once I get his beard on or any of that stuff, I'll tack him down with a little bit of hot glue. He's pretty sturdy in there under that rubber band, but if you just want that little bit extra, you can hot glue it. Oh my goodness, look at my nose. Look at your nose.
Look at my nose.
Oh, your nose is so cute. You have a little nose for your big body. I'm just saying, it's super cute. It looks great. I love it.
Let's see. One person says, be careful with edible weights like beans and stuff. They could attract mice. That's absolutely
That's
possible.
absolutely, yep, a thing.
Of course, you know, if you're storing these things, if they're a holiday thing, you want to store them, you would probably want to store them separately and not in a place where little critters could turn your gnome into a buffet, because nobody wants their gnome to be a buffet.
I mean, unless it's an emergency situation and you have to open your gnome to eat the rice. In that situation, then yes.
So it's a different show. Yeah.
Okay.
Gnome snacks.
So we're going to move on to our facial embellishments.
Yes. So we're going to talk.
We're
going to move into beards, facial hair. So all the gnomes have different kinds of facial hair. Most of the original ones will have locks, like this one. I'll bring him really close so you can kind of see. And these are locks off of a sheep. And these are more of the same kind of thing, different breed of sheep. And they are essentially just glued into place around the nose and under, of course, under the hat. Alternatives to this are, where's the tiny one? No, not him. Well, there are alternatives. I don't know where the other one went. There's part of a gnome body. And I thought of using this yarn. So we have this yarn called Ducan. So this sort of faux fur yarn, which is super fun and multicolored. So this is what I chose to use. Alternatively, we have another yarn that's Caribou by Haiku, which makes this really great fluffy material. It comes in different colors. And nobody says you can't add color to this. You could spray it with something and maybe add color to it. You could also use, like here's another different kind of gnome, and this is spinning fiber. So this is the art felt or the maker's wool. So you can pull off locks of that and make a little beard out of that. So.
Or if you are a sewist of any sort and have scraps of stuff laying around, you can buy by the yard, quarter yard, just the fluffy stuff, and you can use a strip of that. And this is a partially made gnome.
They're called nips. No. Gnome in progress. Anyway, no, doesn't work. Anyway, so we need to do that. And so Kim is doing, what did you decide?
So I'm going to go with the little noils. And so I've just got a pile of noils here. And so this is also something that you're just going to play with. So I'm just going to start adding them around under his nose. And I'm just going to start gluing them on. So again, every now and then, just put your hat back on, make sure you're liking where things are ending up. So I'll probably give my hat, I don't know if you can see there, that little twist there to go over his nose, just to give it a nice little touch. So I'm just going to kind of keep track of where I want my beard to go so that when I put his hat on, it'll hide it. So I'm just going to beard all under his nose and around and just start gluing them on.
Cool. Where did the tape? Oh, here. So I'm going to try doing a beard using this yarn because I want to show you how I think it will work. And what I'm doing is I'm starting with just a piece of another kind of yarn. And I'm going to begin by tying, let's do it just a single knot like this. And the reason I'm doing that is I want to have a place for all of my little beard locks to link up to. So I have a knot right there, and I'm going to tape this down, and I'm going to fold over the edge of the tape so that it's easy to pull up. And then I have a length of the yarn here, and I'm just going to take this other piece of tape I had already pulled and tape it down to, so that's taped to the table. And now I'm going to take this Ducan, this yarn that I've decided to use, and just break off sections of it. Of course, black fiber on against my black shirt means you can't see it, but you'll probably be able to see it better down on the table. So I've got it on the table, and I'm just going to tie a little overhand knot, trying to keep the two ends sort of similar in length. And then I'm going to slide this against that knot that I created. And then I'm going to repeat that for like the rest of my life. So I'll see you in an hour or two.
And then just another tip. So as I'm gluing my pieces of my noils on here, I'm literally just pushing hot glue onto the body and sticking it on. And that is a really good time to use your little tongue depressor, because you can just make a little dot of hot glue, stick your noil on there, and just press it down. And I keep reminding you because I keep burning myself.
And this yarn goes from light to dark to light. If I wanted my beard to be a little less organized in the order of the color, then I might go ahead and measure and break or cut off the lengths of yarn, and then just grab them as I go. But I'm afraid that might even make knots. I don't know. So I just continue like this and keep sliding it down. And this can all be trimmed later. You take this to your local barber and ask them to do a really good hip beard trim, and they'll be able to trim the beard so it looks really good and professional, I think.
But just a reminder, the whole reason our little gnomes came about was just ways to upcycle things that we just have that aren't getting used. And a lot of times we have, we talk about going to the thrift store to find sweaters to felt, but a lot of times we have that stuff just in our own closet. So it's a great way to do that. And then, like I said, once you make a gnome and start embellishing it, you'll be amazed at how creative you get with stuff just around your house. Old buttons that, just don't have a home, and just the random things. And then the other fun thing about a gnome is you sometimes don't really know when it's done. And so you'll just keep adding things and continue to play with them. And I have a couple gnomes that are several years old, and if I pull them out because it's a seasonal one, I might add more stuff to them. So they're really fun. They're just a lot of fun.
Other items you could use for the sweaters or the bodies could be, a sweater from a loved one or a shirt from a loved one that's passed away, that kind of thing. It might be a fun way to talk about or process grief with kids, a couple years down the road, we'll revisit and take a shirt and make something really fun out of that material of the shirt. So I'm liking my little beard. It's
oh my goodness. Okay. So I am loving my gnome. Here's my gnome in progress right now. He's coming along. I obviously haven't done any embellishments, but right now already I just adore him. I think he's adorable. And so yeah, I'm gonna add a little bit more. And then like I said, no, I cannot imagine that there's any two gnomes that are the same.
No.
In the world, right?
And trying to replicate it would probably not work very well. So I have put on a good amount here. I have, that much, a beard's worth of this yarn of the Ducan. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie a knot around this last bit of yarn that I added, so that I can secure all of those little yarn strands into one place. If I don't put a knot on either side of my sort of holding yarn, then they can all slide around a lot. So just
I cannot wait to see your beard.
Me either. The trick is getting this knot to go where I want it to. So I know this is where I want this to be. So I'm going to hold on to here and try to snug up this little knot to tighten it up. And there it goes. All right. So here's my beard. Ta-da. Very exciting. Here's my beard.
Oh, it's so good.
Right. So
I love it.
But it's not for me. It's for my gnome. So I'm going to just take my beard and tie it. I'll do it back. I'll do it this way. So maybe you can see under the nose and around the back. And I'm just going to tie this in, for now, a little bow, because gosh, I don't know if he's going to want a beard trim or not. So if he does, then it'll be easy enough to fix. And this stuff will hide behind inside the hat. And there's all my beard going on. It's very fluffy. I'm going to trim that one because it's very different in size. I hope you're having fun.
I know. Are we on top of it?
Yeah, we're doing okay.
Okay.
We got about 20 minutes to go. So we got to keep going. I mean, the body itself is done, and you can
Yeah, you guys
to...
kind of see the structure. I guess the only last part, other than embellishing and all of that, the very final part that might be crucial is attaching the hat.
Yeah.
And don't be shocked, but we are going to hot glue it. So it's all basically hot glue and rubber bands. So if there are, like I say, sewists or anyone out there and you want to needle and thread it, go for it.
Yeah.
But we call these no-sew gnomes, just so everybody can participate, even if they're not handy with the needle and thread or a machine. So all I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna hot glue them down.
I feel like my hat is too big.
Yeah, you
for
think
my
he's too big?
Person.
Oh, I think he's cute, and I love his big shaggy
You
beard.
think it should be fun?
Oh my goodness, he's so cute.
What do you guys think? Should I cut it down, or my hat is perfect? No. Okay. Okay. We're gonna leave it. We're gonna leave his hat just like it is. And
so as you can see, we've made basic gnomes here. So you guys kind of saw that process. Definitely please jump in there if there's any process part of the process that made 0 sense. The rest of this is all just going to be subjective. It's going to be how much more do you want to do? What do you want to add? I'll show you kind of the things that I pulled for mine. I found just a cute little fun velvet bow I thought could go somewhere. I love holiday bell. He's kind of a holiday gnome. So I grabbed bells and just green festive buttons. There's just so much you can do with it. And then talk about jewelry. You get a bag of costume jewelry at the thrift store, just cut it down. I could use that to line his little hat, or this could go up the seam that I was going to try and hide, or even the body. I opted not to do long hair in the back. I just did a beard. You'll see some of these will have the hair all the way around because their gnome has long hair. So that's why it's sticking out the back.
No, has
he's got long hair. And so it's really whatever your imagination. Yeah.
So to attach my hat, I decided to put hot glue around the bum of my gnome. They don't like it, but it only burns for a minute. So a little bit of hot glue, and then I held this in place so that it's fixed here and it's sort of glued on. If I gave it a good yank, it'll come apart because it's hot glue and just felted material, right? But it's not really attached on this side yet, but there's still just the top of my sleeve there. So I'm figuring out how I want this to fit and arrange. And once I've got that sorted, I'm going to continue just adding hot glue and fixing it so that my hat is attached to his little head. So sorry, little gnome, for burning your little
His little
dark
bone.
teal body, but
Aw.
maybe you were cold.
And helpful things, if you're really stretching your hat, like if your hat ends up being a little bit smaller than what you expected, grab T-pins, or you can always just use T-pins to kind of hold it in place as you're maneuvering it, but it goes on pretty easy. And like I said, if you leave that excess at the top of the body, that really kind of helps hold him in place. And like I said, it gives him his stability. Some people like a floppy hat. You can absolutely do a floppy hat. Some people will even glue the top down, put like a bell on the end and glue the top down. Like I said, it's all just your interpretation.
So here's this little guy. It's getting pretty cute. And his beard is a little nutso, but I like it.
Yeah,
Actually really like it.
Really cute.
I think I'm gonna leave the beard for now. There's that one. It's like trimming hedges in your front yard. You just, want to make sure that everything is good. You can always cut more, but this beard is probably not going to grow back. So you could always glue more on it if you wanted. And I have other things in my my little dish here. We have a whole bunch of things. Here's one of the boxes. We have boxes and bins of different sparkly bits and baggies of stuff. So any of those things that you want to use, you can use. I thought I'd go natural. Mine is kind of he's a natural gnome. But what kind of natural gnome?
Mm-hmm.
And this is where it gets, boring. Perhaps we want to.
Can you see? Do people have questions that we need to?
They like the beard with the yarn. Barbara says that my beard is too long; it's hiding the body. That's true.
That's true.
But perhaps maybe my gnome is going to sit on the edge of a mantle, for example. I don't really know yet, but I'll probably trim it down. I agree with you. I think it is a little bit long, but maybe I'll put a bow on it down here. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what it becomes. Barbara. We can always trim him later. We can trim it later. Oh, this is interesting little thing.
Oh man.
So now you get to watch us just digging through and
bow. Yeah.
glue stuff on.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And I'm glad that we're able to do this demo, but we've taught several in-person classes doing these gnomes, and it's so much fun because it's fun for me because I just get to see what people come up with, and it's amazing. Yeah, I'm sure this isn't fascinating for them.
We are fascinating. I'm sure it's fine. I really like mine being very simple and subtle because I'm a subtle person, I guess. I'm not sure why I like it subtle. But I'm going to go with, I don't know. Time's ticking. This is why the reality shows.
Yeah.
We've got a little bit of time here. I'm just going to glue a couple buttons on here and see what we can come up with. I think what he's going to get is just a little bit of a collection of these. These are shells. So on one side, it's the outside of the shell. The other is sort of polished and shiny, really pretty. And I'm just going to do sort of a little collage-y thing of these. I don't know for now. You also, if you had those, a sweater that had buttons on it and stuff, you can save those little buttons, throw them in your collection as well, because they can be used as embellishment on a little friend.
So I'm going minimalist for now also because time permitting. So I just did a little gold button up here, and he's got a little bow and bell. And there's a good chance a lot more will get added to them, but for these purposes, I went pretty simple. So you can just see it was pretty easy, right, guys? It's just a matter of you can spend as little or as much time as you want on these. They're just a lot of fun. And then as you can see, mine, how much smaller is mine? So if you can see there, so that's kind of the size difference between your two templates, but you can do it between, I've made little tiny mini ones that are just fun, put on top of a gift or something. You can do mini, you can do a huge one. Just,
But now that you've signed up for this, you've committed to making at least one gnome, right? So give one a shot. And if you have a great time doing it, then you can make more. But I will say this is it's a messy project, meaning there's a lot of little parts and lots of clean up. So
if you're gonna make one, you may as well make 20.
yeah, well, you don't have to make 20. But you might want to make quite a few of them or have friends over, because it makes, it's a mess.
Yeah, a gnome party is fun. And the gnome party is fun because you don't feel bad about the effort you made in making this huge mess and gathering all these supplies, because everybody makes gnomes. But the best part about a gnome party is the photo shoot at the end. It's a
Yes.
lot of fun.
Yeah.
You just take amazing pictures, and everyone's gnomes are different. Like I said, I can't imagine there's two of the same gnome out there.
And they do end up having some kind of interesting personalities. So I'm just sort of collaging and piling a bunch of random things on my gnome's body.
Well, and I can show you too some examples. Didn't you do this needlepoint on this
Embroidery
one?
one, yeah.
So I can show you some. People get pretty creative. Here's a cool hat done with tassels on the top. So there's ribbon up the back seam, ribbon around the top, and then they just cut that top part and just did little tassels. And so there's a sample of a hat. And sometimes you just get really lucky with the kind of sweaters you find. Like I said, I've seen some cool ones with some felt cutouts on it. Here's a hat that Kyle did some needlework on, embroidery with beads. And so this particular hat, he just used commercial felt, a sheet of commercial felt, to make it easier to stitch on, but you could easily stitch on any of this.
And I don't know what I'm doing when I'm doing needlepoint, when I'm doing the sewing and stitches. So I just kind of make it up. You draw a little shape and you just keep filling it in until you're happy or bored, one of the two. And that's when it's going to be considered done.
This is I like this one. Someone made this one. So to hide their seam there, they actually braided some yarn or string and then just use that to cover up their seam. So yeah, a lot of fun. This one, they literally just added that spiral detail to the hat after the fact.
So any questions? We got about 10 minutes left before the gnome party disappears.
I just cannot read.
You can't read it.
I just can't see it.
So I've seen girl gnomes can have braided hair on both sides. That's a great idea. Braided hair.
Yes, you could do a little braid down.
And you could do braids with yarn as well. That would be really fun with some of that extra little bits of
Well, I've got those
ones. Charlie suggests maybe a summertime one with sunglasses.
Oh, cute.
That'd be really cute. Yeah. So these are kind of the winter gnomes. That's kind of where we are right now in our land. And there's my little random collage of buttons. And I didn't put anything on the back of mine quite yet, but just because Charlie mentioned, these are more summery. This is a summertime gnome, and this is the shirt sleeve and parts of the shirt. It has a ribbon covering the seam. There's of course a bell, a jingle bell, and the locks and things. This one is a princess because it has the thing at the end of, whatever that is, or a Madonna, I suppose. And look at that. Look at the back of that hat. It's the pieces of a sleeve, like the cuff of a sleeve with some little embellishment. So they are definitely little bits of little characters.
Yes.
Trying to read the rest. So, the bell means, I don't know what the bell means. So Kim is trying to clean up.
Well, I'm just trying to give him a
little bit of a place for him to live in his house. Oh, we should have had pedestals.
Oh.
We need to start over because I want to have the pedestals now. We have these little stands that he'd be like,
It'd be really cute. Yeah.
But they're super cute. We'll do a photo of these and include them perhaps in the thing. And if anyone does make gnomes,
We'd love to see
We
them.
want to see your gnomes.
Yes, we would
So,
love to.
you know, they don't have to be holiday necessarily, but certainly it is the season for holidays. There are lots of them happening in the world. So, so make a gnome or two for a friend or for yourself. And
But hopefully this got the juices flowing.
Yeah.
Hopefully you've got ideas of different materials you can gather and start making your gnomes.
And if you're interested in any of the clearancey types of yarns and stuff, look at the last chance section at makersmercantile.com, because there's a lot of really great sort of craft yarns, which work really well, of course, for weaving and knitting and crochet and all of that as well. We do have felt, just sheets of really nice heavy felt that you can use for the hats if you wanted to do that and make more of a solid bit. Oh, Kim has a couple scraps. There's some, what they look like. And what else? Of course, we have buttons and things, but I really do encourage you, we do encourage you to check out thrift shops, resale shops, your closet that you haven't touched stuff in a long, long time, so that we are able to sort of upcycle and make use of some of those things that you've loved and you've had for so long. So I think we did it.
You guys go make a gnome.
Kim says, go make a gnome.
Go make a gnome.
Make someone's day happy by making them a gnome. So anyway, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Of course, keep following our newsletters and all of that, our social media, because we do have more plans coming up with more fun events that are, of course, free, because we want you to be a part of our community, inspire you to be creative and curious, and keep making.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, thanks for joining us this evening.